Hey everyone, and welcome to the fourth installment of Mongoose's AMA Ask Me Anything series, integrating and automating. So I see a few people are still rolling in, so we'll give everyone a few seconds to get in. Before we get started on the questions, just like to introduce everybody, delve into the topic a little bit, and some of the housekeeping points that we have to set the stage. So first of all, I'll introduce myself. If you were on last week's call, you may remember me as a surprise guest panelist, but I am filling in this week for our normal host, Laura, who is our VP of Marketing. And I'm our product marketing manager here at Mongoose. Been here for about 2 years. I handle our product positioning and messaging, and really showcasing the overall benefits, the ROI, and how we can bring that to our clients as well as our prospective clients. So the overall topic that we're going to be going over today, integrating and automating. If there's any specific questions that you have with how your system of record on campus integrates with our platform Cadence, I think that might be a great place to start. Or if you're unsure of something that you currently have in place or how better you can utilize your integration, please feel free. We can steer the conversation in that direction. And then regarding automation, for any of I see a few of our current clients are on the call. So if you have anything specific of how we can make your life easier, or if you're thinking about maybe becoming a client, what some of our basic automation functionality is as well, I think we can go in that direction too. Pretty standard, a couple of the housekeeping points that we have in place. Feel free to put any of your questions. I'll be keeping an eye on both the chat as well as the Q&A functionality, so you can pop them in there. And then without further ado, I can introduce our panelists. So these two gentlemen I have on the call with me today are two of our product experts here at Mongoose and people that I rely on all the time in order to launch our products and to really refine some of our key marketing messages. So I have Jon Caruso, who is our Director of Product Management. And for some of our current clients on the call, you may recognize Zach Sandecki, who is formerly on our client success team, but who has since moved over to the sales engineering side. Jon, I'll pass it to you first. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Give us some background information.
Sure. Thanks so much, Jake. I'm Jon Caruso, as Jake said. I'm Director of Product Management. I've been with Mongoose since 2016. So I've been very fortunate to be able to see the growth and maturity of our product as it's evolved to meet the needs of our clients and our users. So very excited to chat with you all today, and kick it over to Zach.
Yeah, thanks, Jon. As Jake mentioned, name's Zach. I've been here at Mongoose since 2021. As Jake mentioned, I started out on the client success team, kind of working with our partners on a day-to-day basis, and very recently moved over to our newly formed sales engineering team, which, kind of to speak on what Jake mentioned earlier, really my new role, my goal now is to help our clients utilize their data to get new insights, to establish ROI, all that great stuff, kind of taking your Cadence usage to the next level. And that's not only for current clients, but prospective clients as well.
Great. Thanks a lot, Zach. I think I see a few questions have already come in. I think I'll try to stick to some of the integration questions first, and then I can circle back to some of the integration pieces, because I think that might make a little bit more sense for everybody on the call. It might be a little bit easier to follow then. But Zach, before I delve into any of the questions, do you think you can help me set the stage a little bit and go into some detail about like what exactly do we mean by our integration functionality?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, integration is a term that we hear a lot, especially in our industry. You know, one of the questions that I would get from my partners when I worked with them previously is like, do you integrate with XYZ? Do you have an integration? It's just one of those common things. Integration basically means simpler, easier, all that great stuff. When we talk about integrations here at Mongoose, and especially integrations with Cadence, really what we're kind of talking about is two main pieces. The first being identifying your source system, your contact records, information about the people that you want to be interacting with, that you want to engage with, and getting that data to flow automatically into Cadence from whatever that system is. So, if you're using a CRM like Slate, like Salesforce, something like that, you have a bunch of really rich, good data in that system. How can we automate that to make sure that those same data points come over to Cadence so you can use them in your text messages? The second piece of that too is taking the interactions that you have in Cadence and putting them back in your source system. So being able to look at, again, using Slate as an example, pulling up a particular contact record that maybe you were texting with in Cadence, and then being able to look in Slate, see a record of those text messages. So when we talk about integrations here, they are bidirectional, contact data flowing into the system and conversation data flowing back into kind of your source system.
All right, great. Yeah, thanks for setting the stage on that one, Zach.
Absolutely.
John, I think I'll go over to you on this one. This one came in, it's specifically regarding some more technical pieces regarding security. So what types of visibility can I have into security and your access levels?
So first of all, from a security perspective, we have several kind of official policies that we are able to share, involving everything from SOC 2 audits, FERPA and compliance, GDPR, our data encryption process and practices, et cetera. So from a platform level, we have all of those things pre-written, and we can share those things out if anyone is interested in learning more, and of course address any questions that there may be as well on those things. So first of all, that's at the platform level. Within the product or platform itself, we have a couple of different options for configuring users. The first is that you can create an admin user, which is someone who would have access to the data integration tools that we'll be talking about today. And then you can have a non-admin user, just a standard user, and that individual may be doing more of the day-to-day tasks, such as sending actual text messages and responding to them, and creating lists or segments of contacts to send a message to, et cetera. So it's a little bit different in terms of the features that they can access in the product. So we can control it at that level and customize it based on the institution or team that's utilizing Cadence. There's also a few other granular permissions that we can set up as well. But overall, admins are the ones that can configure integrations and data integrations. We do offer unlimited users. So these admins don't even have to be texting or utilizing our chat features or anything like that. Their sole purpose may be simply to configure the integration and kind of monitor it later on. And that's what a lot of our institutions will do. As part of that monitoring process, we offer as much transparency and visibility as possible into processes that are going on from a data perspective. So if you have an automated process running where, let's say, there's imports happening daily from your system of record, we are able to notify whoever you would like on the institution side when those imports are complete, and we can let them know how everything went. Were there any errors? Did everything go okay, et cetera? So kind of do that wrap up where they're not having to log into Cadence every day and try to find that information. So we kind of use those email alerts for that way. There's also alerts for if there's ever a connection failure, or you can even set things up at a more granular level where you send an alert to someone every time somebody opts out of texting or something. So there's a lot of options there for you. And if you're utilizing our product, we're happy to work with you on configuring the appropriate ones for your team.
Great. Thanks a lot, John. Okay, we have another one coming in. Oh, so I think this one's interesting because I think on our website and within our blogs, we do a lot of talking about some of the benefits of a lot of our native integrations with a lot of the major players in the space, like Ellucian and Blackbaud. But Zach, I think this one's a good question for you because you've had some good insights into a lot of the onboarding processes. So the question that came in was, what if I use a system you don't have a native integration with? My college is thinking of moving to Anthology Reach. And I know that is one that we currently do not have a native integration with.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jake. And, I probably should have clarified that earlier too. Like, integrations as a whole talk about data flowing, conversations flowing, but there's also a further division, which is the difference between what you just referred to as the native integration and then one of our more custom integration options. So quickly, when we talk about native integration, that means that we have like a built-in interface within Cadence that you can manage the integration. You can schedule how often, your contacts sync. You can set some of those notifications that we talked about, or that Jon mentioned, kind of being able to kind of control things from within Cadence and connect automatically to another system. That's your Slates, your Salesforce, your Razor's Edge that you just mentioned. When we talk about custom integration options, though, we also offer API and FTP options, which, if we have any tech folks on the call today, you guys will know what that means. But if you're not sure what those things mean, your IT teams and your tech teams definitely will. The API is fully custom. We have a bunch of endpoints that are publicly available that, as long as your system of record, your source system, has a way to, connect and have that open API connection, that's one way to work. It does require a little bit of a technical lift, like I said, from the IT side. The FTP option is also pretty custom in that, as long as your source system has a way to programmatically export data and place it on a hosted FTP server that you guys would host, Cadence has the ability to go to that server and kind of pull that file down on a regular basis, however it's scheduled, to make sure that we're kind of pulling in that contact data and sending that conversation data to whatever system. So I'll be honest, I don't know immediately offhand if Anthology Reach has those capabilities. A lot of the systems we work with now do. So if you're not sure, great question to bring to your IT team, or to obviously, talk with someone here. We'll let you know if we have experience with certain systems with other folks, and make sure that we can get you the answer we need.
Great. Thanks a lot, Zach. I think for this question, I'd like to get both your takes on this one. And this is something that came up last week when we were on more of a student success topic regarding texting students using Slate. So the question that came in was, I'm currently texting using Slate. Do you have an easy integration with them if I wanted to switch over? So this sounds like somebody who is texting currently with Slate, but I know that we have our integration with Slate, so being able to utilize both us as well as that system too. Zach, I think you can start us off on this one then.
Yeah, I was just going to say I could tackle this. Slate is one of our most heavily used integrations. Obviously, it's a big player in the admissions space right now. It is a super easy integration to set up. With the different clients that I've worked with, it's usually the CRM administrator, or even someone on the admissions team that just happens to be good with technology or understands Slate. Obviously, there's permissions in Slate you need to have, but the setup is really, really easy. We have great documentation that walks you through that. And, the big benefit of it too is being able to pull in all of that valuable Slate data. Like, we recognize that Slate's important. You can see that contact information, update those fields, track your interactions, but be able to really harness some of the Cadence features that I'm sure we'll be talking about in a moment as well, really to kind of take that communication to the next level. So you're getting the best of both worlds, using that really good Slate data that you're already capturing and already have your workflows and communication flows set up, but then also being able to utilize the engagement features within Cadence. And again, getting that conversation records, that history, to show up in Slate. We're not asking you to leave Slate. We're just really kind of leveling it up and using Cadence with that. Does that answer the question a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. I
Cool.
think, Jon, is there anything additional you'd want to add on that?
I mean, I think that was really well stated. Certainly, Zach, you said using the data and kind of almost to your advantage. And I like the idea of talking about how in Cadence we want to take our cue from the system of record. In this case, we're talking about Slate. So we're bringing that contact data in so that Cadence users, when they're navigating through our interface, can understand who they're texting with. They don't have to find them in Slate. It's all kind of at their fingertips right in the same place. So on that side of things, from an import perspective, that's the importance there. You're also able to segment your data in Cadence as well and make sure that you are reaching the correct constituents or contacts with your information. So that's a nice touch too when it comes to importing some of that custom data and custom fields that you're storing in Slate. On the flip side of that, as Zach mentioned, bringing over message activity into Slate and being able to view that information there is super valuable too, because if you happen to be in Slate, you can see the text message activity without having to go to Cadence. So it's win-win on both sides, really. Overall, I think, from our perspective, our software and our product's designed for higher ed professionals, and it is designed with higher ed professionals. I can say that confidently from my seat in the product realm, because all of our features are built through conversations and interviews and surveying current clients and sometimes even prospective or former clients to get their input to make sure we're delivering the features that they need. So even when it comes to an integration perspective, we're learning a lot just through those conversations and trying to build something that is super intuitive. Ultimately, from the data side, you don't want to have to be worrying about data all the time. There are plenty of other things and outcomes your users and your team are aiming for. And so if you can take away any headaches around data, it just frees everyone up to actually utilize the engagement tools. And that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, and if I can piggyback off that too a little bit, John, like earlier you talked about security and permissions differences, and I think everyone would tend to agree that there's a lot more you can break, for lack of a better term, if you have full access to a CRM. So maybe you wouldn't want to give every single one of your admissions counselors or recruiters access to the Slate instance because you don't want people going in there and playing around necessarily. With Cadence being a separate set of permissions, essentially, each admissions counselor can have their own phone number to communicate with their territory, to communicate with the people that, have applied as they're working through those conversations. They still have access to that Slate data, that information about the contacts, and the people in Slate can still see those conversations, but they have a little bit more freedom to communicate. Essentially, they can really have those meaningful connections with those prospective students or current students without you needing to worry about, what access they have in the CRM or anything like that.
That now that you mentioned access, I'm reminded that we haven't really talked yet about how in Cadence you can set up access to different teams. So, if you have someone in admissions that's using Slate, but your advancement team is also using Cadence and they're using Razor's Edge or something else, you can set up the permissions in Cadence where you don't have any overlap there. So that's another nice thing too. And the other thing too is the integrations are per department or per team. So it's not as if there's a requirement or something for all the teams to be using the same source of truth for everything. It certainly can be a different source of truth per team. So that's another thing to note with the permission side of things as well.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I think I can add a little bit here on this one too, because like I said, this is something that we tackled a little bit last week, and I think I'm going to frame it a little bit differently because I know you guys pretty much covered the technical piece extremely well. I think like kind of how I framed this last week was you can text with anybody, right? But why should you be texting with Cadence and Mongoose opposed to them, right? When you're texting with Slate, what you're getting is you're not getting the full engagement functionality that you would get with using a system like Cadence, right? We offer things well beyond texting in order to encourage engagement with prospective students, current students, alumni, donors. So you're able to get much more than just texting with us, right? You're able to see live chat. You're able to get chatbot functionality, the full suite. Like a full suite texting service with templates and smart messaging and insights and analytics, so you can really dig deeply into your ROI pieces. And there's so many interesting things that I think we can talk a little bit later on some of the automation pieces that are coming up on our product roadmap to really expound upon and leverage some of the existing tools that we already have in place. So I think you're just not getting that expertise if you're only texting with Slate. I think our integration is awesome. We definitely don't like to view that as an adversarial relationship. I think that we're able to really leverage some of the data that Slate has and the bidirectional information that we do have between the two systems. But I think that our level of expertise, the support you get, on average, our average client is going to be getting 3 to 4 people on our client success team that are going to be specifically dedicated to them and to be able to focus on the specific use case that they have. And I think that that's just such an important piece where you're not just another number in the system, right? You're going to get that full suite onboarding, and you're going to get coaching along the way to make sure that you're taking full advantage of our system. All right, let me just circle back a little bit because I know we had a couple questions pop up specifically for the automation pieces. Um, John, can you just give us a basic overview kind of what exactly we do mean by automation?
Sure. So I don't know if the question was regarding integration specifically or not, but I can touch on both. From an integration perspective, and certainly if we're talking about API or FTP or native integration, there's always going to be an element of automation, and usually it involves the import side and the export side. So bringing in the contact data, that's typically going to happen through some degree of automation so that someone isn't manually going in and figuring out who to import and when to do it, all those things. On the export side, bringing the text message activity over, conversation history from chats, opt-out changes, things like that. Again, the goal is to make that automated so that you don't have an actual human having to spend time on those things. So that's what we mean by automation, I think, from an integration standpoint. From an overall kind of product perspective and almost our philosophy on it, if you will, we're talking really about leveraging technology in order to help you complete tasks and bring about your desired outcomes. So we kind of refer to that as extending your reach or extending the reach of our users. And what we mean by that is saving them time and energy by allowing some things to happen automatically. I really think, again, almost from a philosophical side of things, a blend of personal and automated communication is the sweet spot that you want to go for, especially in today's world in the current state of higher education and the amount of pressures that are being put on higher ed professionals. Time is even more valuable than ever. And certainly leveraging technology to help you get things done effectively and also retain a personal touch, that is really the gold standard that you should be aiming for. So that's what we try to think about as we develop features in our product. Jake, you alluded to some of the changes we'll be having in the product in the next couple of months with regard to automation. And we've been thinking about all these things as we have been developing these features.
All right, yeah, I think that's it then, John. Zach, I can ask this one to you then. I'm in a small private college, and I have a pretty limited team. What types of automation do you offer that can really make things easier for me?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there's a few different pieces of automation. So without, doing a full demo and getting too deep into it, some of the main ones we offer, something called smart messages. I know you mentioned earlier, smart messages are outgoing text messages that ask a question. In our case right now, they ask a yes or no question. And based on how the person responds, you can automate specific yes answers and no answers that respond to them. We also offer something called auto reply. I'm sure everybody has seen some sort of advertisement that is, text this keyword to this number for more information. I know I get, there's a band that I like that was just like, hey, text the name of the band to this number and we'll sign you up for text message alerts. We offer something similar to that, but it's not just used for those kinds of subscriptions and automations. You can actually customize responses. You can even apply custom tags to contacts that respond. So that's another feature we have, just fully customizable tags that you can use to build contact lists, categorize folks, target people for specific future outreach. And then lastly, I guess, especially for small teams, because we're talking about integrations as well, we have the ability to basically build what we call segments in the tool. So segments are your defined list of contacts that meet some criteria. And we have a way to basically make those lists dynamic. So let's say you want to check in every week with everybody who is an admit, and you want to check in with them and see how they're doing. Well, you know that from day to day, even your number of admits and who's an admit could change. Our segments tool allows that to be dynamic. So as that data, that information is flowing from your system of record, you know who the admits are. You build that segment one time, and every day, because that data is flowing, those contacts are updating, you know that that list is going to be accurate. Basically, it'll match your outreach there. So again, all of those things can kind of go hand in hand to help save your team from taking extra time responding, to collecting a little bit of data about them. Like I mentioned with smart messages, let's say you have an event this weekend and you're like, okay, we had a bunch of people RSVP 3 weeks ago, but I need an updated head count today. You can send a text message out to all those people who RSVP'd. Hey, reminder of the events tomorrow. You still planning on attending? Yes or no? If they say yes, great. Thanks for letting us know. We'll see you there. If no, hey, thanks for updating us. We'll take you off our list. Those replies are completely automated. Cadence also allows you to download lists of people who responded yes, people who responded no. So you can update those RSVPs, pass them along to the event manager, any of that stuff. So all of those features kind of combined with that personal touch can really help save your team some time, make things a little bit easier, and get you the information you need.
Great. Thanks, Zach. I think that's a good segue into the next question that I have for you, John, specifically regarding the smart message functionality that Zach had brought up there. I think this one's coming in from a current client because they're saying, is there any additional functionality coming to smart messages? And I know smart messages is one of the most popular features that we have come up with within Cadence.
Yeah, this is a really timely question. Perfect timing, actually. So Zach was talking about how right now the smart messages are kind of the standard yes, no, where you get a response and then there's an auto reply that goes out based on how the contact responded. And then you can kind of categorize those responses and see percentages, who replied, who didn't, et cetera, and then take that information and do something else with it, essentially is the point of the feature. So we have received a ton of feedback since we released smart messages and yes, no from our current users. And we've also talked to several different people in the market, even as I mentioned before, even some of which are no longer clients or are potential clients, and try to figure out, what are the problems that you're having? What are the pain points, and how might we be able to solve them through automation? So we quickly got back to the smart message discussion because it's such a popular feature and there's so much more potential there. And so I'm pleased to say what we will be doing is adding several more question types to it. So not just yes, no anymore. Zach is, well, not applauding, but what is that motion called? I'm not sure.
I don't know. Old-timey cheering.
Old-timey cheering. That's great. So, we're going to be adding some more flexibility and customization options there. So we're talking about things like respond A for this option, B for this option, C for the, et cetera, or a numeric response as well. And this is going to build in the ability to really conduct small surveys and polls with the product too. So totally giving that customization flexibility of the automation and putting it in the hands of our users, because there are so many different use cases that we talk to people about and that we've documented. The challenge has been building a tool that will fit most of them. So we want to have the power of the technology and using the automation, but also leave it open-ended enough where it's going to be valuable for most of the different types of teams and users that are utilizing our product. So new question types is probably the headliner there. The ability to do some quick and simple surveys or polls. We've even talked about using, for those of you that are familiar with Likert scales or what those are, so kind of like, how would you feel about X, Y, and Z, very satisfied, somewhat satisfied, not satisfied, et cetera, and do, again, a type of poll in that way. You're going to be able to do that in the product now. And along with this is coming the kind of transformation of our sent details page. So the report that you get afterwards when you're seeing, how did this go? Did people engage with it? Who responded which way? Who received an auto reply? Who didn't, et cetera? We are expanding that page to add better visuals and surface different types of information, including percentages and things like that, more to the top of the page. So again, all the focus is about what you do with that data at the end. It's not just, you're not sending messages just because you feel like it. Obviously, there's a strategy and there's a communication strategy in mind. So getting our users more toward those outcomes and being able to actually do something with the data, that's really what we're talking about. So with the new smart message updates, and again, I'm glad we have this question, we're looking at the next month or two before those are actually in the product. So we're really excited about that.
Perfect. Thanks, John. Yeah, and this is one that I'm super excited to launch. I've seen the UI UX design mockups, and I can't wait to to see that fully within the product. So I think that's such an exciting piece, and to build upon one of our most successful features already and leverage that. I'm super excited about it.
I know we're at
all right,
time. Do I have a second to tag on that real quick? We've
Yeah,
talked
go
a
ahead,
lot
Zach.
about.
We have 60 seconds. Go ahead.
Cool. Yeah, we talked a lot about admissions stuff, like admissions teams today. One of the, having worked with clients in the past, my advising teams were the ones that were going to be most excited for this smart message. Everybody has problems with stop outs every year. Being able to send a quick text message to everybody who hasn't registered yet to say like, hey, what's your plan for the year? I'm coming back, but I haven't registered yet. I'm not coming back and I'm going somewhere else, or I don't know. Get that data, send your advisors out, have them communicate with those folks. It's going to be a real game changer for our folks in advising.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. I think we're right up against time right now. I'll do a little self-promotion for next week. So we do have our 5th installment of the AMA series, and Laura has told me that the topic is anything. So a true ask me anything, to come with any questions that you may have on any topic, higher ed engagement related, Mongoose related. And we're going to have our guest, Jay Bookout, who is our VP of Sales Engineering. And Jay is an absolute data wizard. So I think he's going to be a great guest for us to have on next week. But yeah, Zach, John, thanks a lot for being on here with me today. And thanks everyone for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. Thanks,
Thanks
everybody.
so much.